Hey everyone, today I am not exactly going to be talking about chocolate. I'm going to be talking about something chocolate adjacent. On a recent trip to Hawaii, I had the opportunity to visit a vanilla farm in Laie called the Laie Vanilla Company. And I put on my Instagram, asked if people had questions about vanilla, and I discovered that yes, you guys had lots of questions about vanilla. So I thought I would do a whole video about vanilla because it seems as though you guys want more information about it. And even though a lot of people will be purists and say that craft chocolate shouldn't have vanilla in it, there is a time when craft chocolate can have vanilla when it enhances the flavor instead of overpowering the flavor. And of course, real vanilla is better than fake vanilla. So let me tell you about vanilla. So vanilla is a kind of orchid. It's in the orchid family, which is called the Orchidaceae. The type that is most commonly grown is called Vanilla planifolia, colloquially known as bourbon vanilla. It's the most common one grown for commercial use, but there are others. It's native to Mexico and Belize. It has the only edible fruit in the orchid family. It is actually an endangered species in the wild. So the vanilla is a vine. It grows as a vine, and it has these flowers on it that are kind of yellow-green in color. They're about the size of your thumb, and they're super interesting because they only open for one day. So basically, Saili Levi, who is the owner of the Laie Vanilla Company, took me around his farm and showed me about pollinating. So what he does is in the morning, he has to go in and see what flowers have opened that morning. He pollinates all the flowers that he can find between 6 and noon, because by noon, the flowers are starting to die off and they won't take the pollination very well. By the end of the day, they're done, and if they haven't been pollinated by then, they surely will not make fruit. And worse than cacao, flowers must be pollinated by hand. So no midges outside of Mexico. Their native environment does have a bee that pollinates them, but the bee doesn't survive outside of Mexico, and it must be hand. Every vanilla pod you ever see or have or eat is from a hand pollinated flower. So let's do a little bit of history. So the Aztecs, of course, knew about vanilla. They used it in their cocoa drinks and for other reasons, but no one else in the world did until Cortez came in 1520. He took it back to Spain, but for 300 years, no one could get the plant to fruit. No one could get those flowers to produce the vanilla fruit until Edmund Albius, who was working and living on Reunion Island in the Indian Ocean in 1841, discovered a reliable hand pollinating method. And I have a video of Saili doing this that I'm going to insert right here for you to watch.
Yeah, well, this is my little jungle I come to every morning.
Hi.
And to find all the little flowers hiding. Oh, I didn't pollinate this one. Maybe I can pollinate it now. I got to. So I'll show you how to pollinate. It probably won't work because the time has passed, but I'll show you how we pollinate it, because this guy was hiding. So what we do is we basically tear open the inside of the flower, and even the petals, you pull them back. And so the stigma that I was talking about is this little flap right here.
Okay.
And so when you lift this stigma all the way up, the stigma flap, naturally this cap right here, which holds all the pollen, will lay right on top of it. So when I lift it up, see, it naturally falls onto it. Then you take your thumb and you hold the cap towards the stigma and you pull the stick away. Now you push lightly so the two sticks together, and when you're done, it should look like that.
Huh.
And that's it. And then what happens is, you can see this one's been pollinated a couple days ago. You see how it's starting to swell up.
Oh yeah.
Yep, it's starting to get bigger. And then after about 3 weeks, it'll be about, I would say, 8, 9, 10 inches long. And then from there, it'll just sit on the vine until 9 months later, until it's mature. Then we pick all the beans. But yeah, it's kind of a quick process. I mean, it takes some time to learn, because I know at first I was pollinating, I was breaking the flowers off and the pollen was falling out all over the place. But after a while, after some practice, you kind of get it down, and then after that, it's just muscle memory, just going through it. And here you see are starting to swell up, and starting to see some size.
Was that super cool? He uses one of those little dental toothpick things with the floss on it. He says that works best. And every single flower, he has to pollinate by hand if he wants to get a vanilla pod out of it. So what happens is, the vanilla, once it's pollinated, develops into a pod. And although we call it a vanilla bean, like in cocoa, it's not technically a bean. Beans only occur in the legume family, the bean family, Fabaceae. And it's not even closely related to Fabaceae. So it's a fruit, and the kind of fruit it is a dehiscent capsule, which means that it will split, and the seed is split open and the seeds will come out. So he was nice enough to give me one of his split capsules, because when they split, they're not as valuable, because when you sell them, the grade A is a complete pod. So he gave me one of his split. Oh, you guys, the smell. It smells so good. He gave me one of his split pods. When he gave it to me, it was green. It's been a little over a week since I've been back. And it's, I think, oxidized. I think that's what's happening. I haven't looked it up, but it's turned brown. And you can see that it is split here along the bottom. So that's what the plant wants to do. The plant wants to split open, and the seeds to go out into the world and propagate and create more vanilla. So the pods, once the flower's been pollinated and fertilized, it will take 8 to 9 months for them to ripen, and they'll get to be about 10 to 20 centimeters long, this long. So this one's a little bit longer than this one. So you can see the different sizes. They do look like a green bean when they're on the vine. I'll put some pictures up here for you to see. But they do have a really, really strong aroma. So when I was there, I asked him, where does the smell, where does the flavor, where is it coming from? And if you smell the leaves, no smell. It smells like plant. If you smell the vine, no smell. But if you smell the pods, or inside the pods, the seeds, oh, it's got a heavenly aroma. So good. I'm just sitting here, I just want to lick this. But here's the funny thing. If you were to taste this, so you guys can get vanilla beans at your fancy local grocery store. If you were to lick this straight out of the bean, it wouldn't be sweet at all. And it doesn't even really taste like a whole lot. Most of what is happening for us is the aroma. There's a really, really strong aroma, and it comes from the pod, and it comes from the seeds inside. So nowadays, you'll not only see vanilla extract, which is like this, where I can't get the light right so you can see there's alcohol with seeds seeping inside of it. So the alcohol absorbs the flavor in the pod itself. So that's the extract. Then you get the beans, of course. So I got some vanilla beans from him. And how you get from the green bean to this beautiful grade A bean is also very labor intensive. So all of the pods have to be picked by hand. So we're pollinating by hand, we're picking by hand. And once they're picked, they have to be cured. So it's a process of putting them out and letting them be in the sun, and then bringing them in at night. So sweating them and then bringing them in, and sweating them and bringing them in. And for certain ones, like you actually have to massage oil into them as well. So depending on the vanilla. And the vanilla planifolia has enough oil in it for it to cure without massaging it, but some beans are very high maintenance and they require an oil massage to get cured. So, and then now you have, so I've also got some beans here from Beyond Good. So Beyond Good also makes pure ground vanilla. This is, so if you can see, it's basically the whole pod ground up, because the flavor actually comes from the whole pod and the seeds inside, not just the seeds. So those are kind of the different ways that you can get vanilla. What else do I want to tell you about vanilla? So vanilla, the vines itself they contain something called calcium oxalate, which is, it can cause contact dermatitis. So you can get a skin rash from if you break and touch the sap that's within the vines or the leaves. But the interesting thing is that if you were to break off the flower, that you wouldn't get that sap. You get a really sweet kind of honeydew flavored sap coming out that is okay to eat. I'll put another, Saili showed me this, and I'll put another video up of that, him talking about that, and also about pests and things that they have to deal with in their vanilla farm.
Some size.
So do you have bugs or fungus or anything that you worry about?
So there are some fungus that do attack these guys, but as long as you can control their environment. So like I said, we don't water too often because watering can introduce a lot of different fungus like the Fusarian fungus. Pests, we found out that we have some spiders every now and then, but we have this guy, thankfully, to kind of protect our farm. The little gecko. And so he basically eats all the bugs. And the ants, they don't really attack the plant itself.
They don't care?
They're just, they like the sap that the flower buds give off.
Oh, that's what I read, that the sap can cause you some dermatitis?
Yeah, so the sap itself from the vine can be an irritant. Yeah.
Okay.
And
but
so if you're not...
It doesn't get around the flowers or picking these? No.
So actually from the flower, this sap right here from the flower is actually honeydew.
Oh.
Super sweet. Yeah. So.
Okay. So vanilla, like all natural flavors, is not just composed of one chemical. It's got several chemicals that go into creating the natural flavor we know of vanilla. So the artificial flavor, vanillin, is one of the chemicals that is plentiful in Vanilla planifolia, which makes it so valuable. But it's just one of them. There's several others that go into creating that complex, unique, natural vanilla taste. So let's talk about another. So the first time I ever saw vanilla, it was a botany teacher who had a wife that was from Tahiti, and she was growing Vanilla tahitensis, which is a cross between, it's an accidental hybrid that was probably occurred in nature, but that's weird, so I don't know, maybe. Vanilla planifolia and Vanilla odorata. And so it was kind of an accidental hybrid. So the planifolia was brought back by Cortez in Europe. Somewhere got crossed. Then it makes its way to Madagascar. And in 1848, the French take it to Tahiti. So it's a little bit different. It looks a little bit different. The leaves are a little more elliptical. They're less leathery and plump looking like the planifolia. They also require, so I couldn't believe it when she told me for the first time what you have to do to get vanilla. They're like at a vanilla spa. You have to hand pollinate, you have to pick them by hand, then you let them sit out in the sun, and then you bring them in, and then you put them back out in the sun to sweat, and then you rub massage oil into them. And this resting and sweating process goes on for 1 to 3 months. Planifolia is on the lower end, Tahitensis is on the higher end. So it's if you thought cacao was a high maintenance crop, holy moly, vanilla is a really high maintenance crop. So that is why your vanilla beans are so expensive in the store, because somebody has looked after these vanilla beans like they are their little babies. So I think I answered all of your questions. The one thing is that I want you to remember is that this isn't sweet when you eat it. We associate vanilla as a sweet flavor because of what we put vanilla in. So like ice cream and creme brulee and all of these things that are desserts or sweets. And that's why we think vanilla is a sweet flavor. But in reality, if I were to chew on this bean right now, it wouldn't be sweet at all. It would kind of taste green and herbal and like a plant, like eating a plant. But it has this beautiful, beautiful aroma coming out, and it's just lovely. And the aroma is even stronger in the fresh bean than it is in the cured bean. It's lovely. So a recent study came out and said vanilla is the #1 flavor in the world, not just North America or Europe, in the entire world. And most of the time when people are eating chocolate, the flavor that they identify with is vanilla. So you have to make sure, I'll give you a challenge. Go and try this. Get yourself a Hershey bar or a Cadbury bar or some kind of milk chocolate bar and taste it, and then taste a Kraft chocolate bar. It can be a dark milk, it can be a dark, and notice the difference and taste maybe a few others on there. Do this with your friends. It's a fun little experiment. And then after you're done tasting the Kraft chocolate, where you can actually taste chocolate, come back and taste that Hershey bar again and see what you're actually tasting. Because in most cases, you're not tasting chocolate. You're tasting sugar and vanillin. And although vanillin is a fantastic flavor and sugar has its moments too, you need to know that that's not what chocolate tastes like. That's what vanilla tastes like, or that's what vanilla tastes like. Vanilla, natural vanilla, is an amazing flavor. So what I want you to do is I want you to go and get on Saili's website. He takes loving care of all his vanilla pods, and it is the Laie Vanilla Company. Follow him on Instagram. Last time I looked, he was having a 40% off sale, which is a steal for natural vanilla. So go check him out. If you are ever in the tropics and have a chance to go to a vanilla farm, I would recommend it. It's fun, it's enlightening, it's educational, and just plain awesome. So I hope that you learned something about vanilla today, and that will help you on your food education as you make better choices on the things that you eat. If you have a question, if I missed one of your questions, ask me again in the comments. I will for sure answer it. I love seeing you guys every Thursday over here. Subscribe so we can hang out and talk about things chocolate and things chocolate related. Thanks for watching.